Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment just credits back whatever local sales and use tax people have passed for law enforcement back to the city or county that passed it. And let me explain why I think this is reasonable and why I have thought this was reasonable on many of the tax increases that we proposed in finance to allow localities to raise taxes. First of all, our tax revenues have grown far faster than population, far faster than inflation. We in Washington have been consistently growing tax revenues. And people, we all get the emails. People are having trouble making ends meet. We're also having some inflation that may have been caused nationally, and eggs are high and insurance is high, so people are having trouble making ends meet. But we consistently hear here in this body that we have a big deficit. So I'd like to talk about that. Revenue for the next biennium is up $5 billion, which may not seem like a lot in the scheme of the large budget that we have, 70 billion-ish or so. But we have, people talk about caseloads. Our caseloads are actually down. Permission to consult my notes?
Please proceed.
Caseloads, it's said that we educate, medicate, and incarcerate. Both bodies have said that. School, our enrollment is down below 2019 levels. Medicaid clients are down from 2024. Prison, our population of prisoners is down 4K from before the pandemic. So these caseloads, these three specific caseloads that we think of, are down. So our revenues are up over the next biennium, and our caseloads are actually down. So, Mr. Speaker, our budget deficit is because we've just been consistently spending more than we've collected. And we have a priority of public safety. My town has a priority of public safety. I bet your town does too. We're not doing very well. Crime is up, and we have the lowest officers per capita. But I would submit to you that we need to fund our priorities. I don't believe this budget deficit situation is entirely reasonable to talk about in this environment. Our priority is to fund law enforcement, and that is noble and good, but we should fund it at the state level with the revenues that the taxpayers have entrusted us with. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The floor remarks, the good member from the 25th, Representative Jacobsen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In full support of law enforcement, I am against this new scheme for the state to pass off its responsibilities onto the localities and have them raise taxes. I saw what I thought was alarming, Mr. Speaker, trend in the Finance Committee. We had 28 new taxes that we looked at. Sure, we're trying to balance our budget, but we had 28 new taxes that we looked at, 12 of which would ask localities to raise taxes for priorities. So it's 0.1% here, 0.1% there, 0.3 here, 0.3 there, a little property taxes here and there. And pretty soon, people are moving out of this state for another state where it's easier to have a better cost of living. And our statistics prove that, Mr. Speaker. We've got one of the highest cost of livings by almost any measure in this state. So let's not fund our priorities by having localities raise taxes on themselves. One of our priorities is law enforcement, and we need to fund that. And I'm reminded, Mr. Speaker, of the old Beatles song. This probably shows my age. Permission to read?
Please proceed.
If you try to sit, I'll tax your seat. If you get too cold, I'll tax the heat. If you take a walk, I'll tax your feet. Let's not be the tax man. Let's balance our budget and live within our means of the taxes that we've already increased greatly, and let's vote this bill down. Also support our law enforcement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.